Black people, let me say this, and I want you to hear me clearly. We're not dealing with white supremacy. We're dealing with white insecurity. I say this because white people go through great lengths to hide Black people's contribution to society. And the reason why we can't put a mental handle on what it really is because we won't call it what it is. In order to justify the evil things that they have done to us through chattel slavery. Be clear. Understand what I'm saying is white people always understood the creativity of Black people, but try to argue that we were mentally inferior in order to justify their inhumane treatment of us. And white people feel that if Black people and white people are knowledgeable about our true contribution to society, that it will belittle them. It will take from them.
We all know the intelligence of African people and their descendants have been ridiculed and demonized, to say the least. The very idea of Black people in America contributing to the field of science was largely viewed as a joke. This adulterated perspective was strong in the 1800s, especially when Black inventors began contributing to American civilization. Just to give you guys an idea, a popular candidate for Congress in the 19th century once said in reference to Black people that no one of the race had ever reached the dignity of an inventor. Recognition of Black inventors was virtually non-existent, especially during enslavement. Enslaved individuals were not allowed to receive patents or assign them to others. They were not allowed to enter into contracts with the government because they were not considered citizens, let alone human. Because of this, many Black inventors during slavery and after were ignored and their inventions credited to others. This American legacy of disparaging and disrespecting the agency of Black inventors unfortunately led some to even deny their Blackness in fear that their invention would decline in commercial value.
First of all, let's be clear. You don't believe that Black people are intellectually inferior and pass a law saying that they cannot enter into contract with the government and they cannot have patents. That's a contradiction to that belief they won.
Value. Henry Baker was vocal about the general public's ignorance concerning Black inventors. He was an African-American man who was a second assistant examiner at the patent office in the 1800s. He claimed that the white people in charge would keep Black inventors hidden by identifying them as having white or non-Black ancestors.
Until very recently, any person with one drop of Black blood was Black.
4. Benjamin Bradley. Having worked at the Annapolis Naval Academy, Bradley performed scientific experiments and was credited for building a steam engine at the age of 16. It was made entirely from scrap metal and used on warships to help travel faster at sea. Though he wasn't able to patent his work, he sold his idea in exchange for his freedom.
Talking about an African-American slave created a patent design that was used by the military for steamships, and he was not even legally allowed to read and write. And yet they want to debate what level of intelligence Blacks can rise to. Stop playing.
Benjamin Banneker. The son of a slave, Banneker developed a fascination for repairing watches by taking them apart and studying their components. After mastering his craft, he would go on to build America's first ever wooden clock using carved wooden pieces. The clock worked for more than 40 years. Banneker banked on his nationwide exposure and started up his own watch and clock repair business.
Now, if I say who invented the light bulb, most people would jump up and down and say Thomas Edison. But Thomas Edison's light bulb would not work without the filament. You know and I know that when you turn a light switch off and you hear that little ping and the light doesn't go on, that's because the filament broke. So the filament is an integral part of the light bulb. Without it, you have no light, which was invented by Lewis Latimer.
Fortunately for us, Granville Woods fell through the cracks. He was so exceptional that it was hard to ignore. Granville put to use his knowledge of electronics, chemistry, and physics to design several of the era's great inventions. The attention he drew, of course, was not without controversy, however. Due to the extensive racism and denial of black intellect, the Cosmopolitan magazine reported that Wood's maternal grandfather was a Malay Indian and that his other grandparents were Australian Aborigines, anything to deny his Africanness. On June 3, 1884, Granville was granted his first patent for a steam boiler furnace. Woods created devices that involved the conversion of electricity into useful and economic functions. He created an incubator that was described as the forerunner of present machines capable of hatching 50,000 eggs at a time. He also patented many transmission devices from telephones to telegraphs. Granville contributed to the area of circuit designs and the generation of electricity. His knowledge of chemistry allowed him to invent the galvanic battery, a battery that produced electricity through chemical reactions. During his lifetime, he patented about 50 inventions and devices, many of them related to electric railways, which gave him the most recognition and praise. He no doubt revolutionized the railroad and electric railway industries with his fantastic work. His development of the so-called third rail used in electric railways increased the safety of the nation's entire system. His most contested invention at the time came to be known as the induction telegraph system. The device was designed for the purpose of averting accidents by keeping each train informed of the whereabouts of the one immediately ahead or following it, in communicating with the stations from moving trains, and in promoting general social and commercial intercourse. Before Granville's invention, trains apparently had little to no assistance in locating the whereabouts of other trains, so accidents would happen frequently. This invention certainly got attention, and once he made his move to market the product through his company, he was challenged in 2 court cases by Thomas Edison, who claimed rights to the induction telegraph. In both court cases, Granville beat Thomas Edison.
How much evidence did that black man have to beat that white man in court for the patent in the 1800s? These so-called white inventors, Thomas Edison, all of them have a lot of black inventors around them.
In 1893, the first successful open-heart surgery was performed by a black surgeon, Dr. Daniel Hale Williams.
Latimer was best known for improving the railroad toilet system with the water closet, or what we know as the flush toilet. He would also create a method to make carbon filaments for the electric lamp and become the only African-American member of the engineering division at the Edison Company.
Louis Latimer was credited with writing the designs up for the phone, but he actually invented the phone. He actually invented the light bulb because he invented the fillmore that's inside the light bulb. You can bust that outside of the light bulb and it still work. But if that inside of that fillmore split, then the light don't work. So he invented the light bulb as well. This was another example of white people using their position in political authority to take black people into designs.
And what? The first black car manufacturing company was owned by Frederick D. Patterson. Frederick D. Patterson built cars way before Henry T. Ford. It's also noted that Frederick D. Patterson's cars were built to a much higher standard than Ford. Now, speaking of refrigerators, Frederick Jones is famous for inventing an automatic refrigeration system in trucks. In addition to that refrigerator invention, Jones also invented the first air conditioning unit for a military field hospital, a refrigerator for military field kitchens, a self-starting gas engine, a series of devices for movie projectors and box office equipment that gave tickets and made change. Now, during the wintertime, everyone likes to turn the heating on, right? And we have Alice H. Parker to thank. She was an African-American inventor known for her contribution to the heating furnace. She invented a furnace that supplied central heating for entire homes and buildings, not just one particular room, but the entire building. Born on June 15, 1868, John Standard revolutionized the modern kitchen and was granted intellectual property rights to 2 patents throughout his lifetime, for the refrigerator and a patent improvement to the oil stove.
Jan Ernst Matt Zelliger. Half Dutch, half Surinamese, Matt Zelliger crafted a machine to help expedite the final step of shoemaking, connecting the leather from the upper shoe to the inner sole. The device helped ensure better quality and fit and increase shoemaking speed by up to 900%. 10. Garrett Morgan. After witnessing a traffic collision, Morgan decided to build a non-electric three-way traffic signal that featured stop, go, and all-directional stop positions. He would create another safety-inspired device, the gas mask, which he used to save 32 men trapped during an explosion in an underground tunnel in Lake Erie. The man even invented the first human hair straightener and sold it under the name G.A. Morgan Hair Refining Cream.
They try to say African Americans had no contribution to American society. If African American made the toilet, the stove, refrigerator, air conditioner, and the furnace, I challenge you to go a day without using something made by an African American.
Shirley Ann Jackson, a theoretical physicist and famous Black inventor, has been credited with making many advances in science. While working at Bell Laboratories, Dr. Jackson conducted breakthrough scientific research that enabled her team to invent the portable fax, touch-tone telephone, solar cells, fiber optic cables, and the technology behind caller ID and call waiting. Now remember I mentioned fiber optic cables. So for those of you using the internet right now and have fiber optic broadband, you have Dr. Shirley Ann Jackson to thank.
Wait, you can't even use the internet without the Black people being involved in the development of that. So let's be clear. Black people have made great contributions to American civilization, to every civilization on earth Blacks have contributed to.
The inventor of the improved telephone transmitter, the patent for his device which combined the telephone and telegraph, the inventor of the improved telephone transmitter, George Crumb invented the potato chips, Alexander P. Ashbourne invented the biscuit cutter, John Thomas White invented the lemon squeezer, and Sarah E. Good invented the folding bed. Now meet Garrett.
If you don't recognize this conspiracy to miseducate your children, to lower your children's self-esteem in the American school system by your lack of knowledge and my lack of knowledge of these Blacks who have contributed this much to American society, then you're choosing to be ignorant. You're choosing to allow your children to continue to be
Lewis Howard
miseducated.
Latimer. Before serving as Thomas Edison's
on,
original
boss.
draftsman and sketching invention plan for Alexander Graham Bell.
Boss, the music gonna pause the whole video. Damn. If you don't realize why they can't, if you don't understand that our ignorance about the contributions that these African Americans have made to American civilization was intentional in order to hinder our self-esteem and how we view ourselves and one another, then you are choosing to be willfully ignorant. You will have to understand that this was a design process and it was deliberately information left up out of the school system. All blacks know going through the school system, only part of history that blacks are taught is that you were enslaved and you went through the civil rights movement. That is the entirety of your history that you are taught in America, and the reason why whites are fighting so strongly against critical race theory is because they've been using this education system to kill your children's self-esteem, and they fear that the truth of what you actually contributed to society will hinder their children's self-esteem. It is white insecurity. White people have gone through great length to hide who we are as a people, our contributions to society, in order to justify the evil things that they have done to us through chattel slavery, right? Be clear. Understand what I'm saying is white people always understood. Now, I just want you to understand how much evidence, how much evidence
and was recognized by the U.S. Patent Office as the inventor. This event can be seen as a blessing and a curse, because although he received high praise and generated wealth, he was not able to compete economically in the long run. The duality of 19th century racism and legitimate corporate competition funded by centuries of slave money rendered Granville and other black inventors unable to keep up, and so he found it better to sell his inventions to larger white-owned corporations. White society, possessing the ability to control the inventions created by black men, also possessed the power to control the potential of the inventors themselves. Woods and other black inventors were allowed to contribute to society as inventors, but not as businessmen. By minimizing the black inventors' participation in the American corporate system, white society was able to control the growth of the black companies concerned with technology.
But who invented the stove? Invented the ice cream scoop, invented the ice. Shirley Ann Jackson, a theoretical physicist and famous black inventor, has been credited
hide who we are as a people, our contributions to society. But the point is that the white people took him to court, and they was basically about to take his design. So he went to work for him, for Alexander Bell. Same way the General Electric people did with the other black guy. This is just was a repeated process. The court system was used as a means to come and take black people inventions. So black people either had to go and work for the white people, give them their inventions, or just be poor and continuously get their inventions taken from them.